Is that really necessary? Okay. Everything's set up. Okay. Actually, let me double check something first. Double check. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Is that really necessary? Okay. Yeah, that's good enough. That's good enough. Okie dokie smoky. Doing another build stream randomly out of the middle of friggin' nowhere. With the only real unbuilt model kit that I have left right now. Okay, well, I do have a couple more unbuilt model kits left, but don't think I'm going to touch them, but I will touch this because I don't know, it just sprang to mind that I had this recently and that I hadn't built it, and that whatever plans I had in mind for it when I originally got it, whatever, I don't care anymore. At least not enough to be asked about whether or not I put this thing together as is. I don't know if anyone can hear me because I'm talking in the complete opposite direction. Well, you can probably hear me just fine. I don't even know why I turned around. Anyway, I should probably put that. No, that's not what I meant to do. Okay. Yeah, I should put that on the screen in front of me so that I can see that what I'm doing is what I'm doing and that I can see the chat if anyone decides to show up. It's a weeknight, so I got it. But hey, I wanted to do a build stream, and just, I don't know, randomly, it just felt like I wanted to do it because I wanted to build. Honestly, it's more just a case of, I want to build this right now. I wanted to scratch an itch and build this. And I didn't want not to stream whenever I built this, but I also didn't want to wait until like the weekend when everyone would be ready and available for it. So here I go. Here I go. It's still kind of a bit loud. Alright. Apparently at some point I had the forethought in mind to actually get these unpacked. Huh. Hello, first Transformer model kit? Nope, not at all. I'm actually trying to remember how many I've done before this. I know I have 3 Optimus Primes and 2 Megatrons. Oh, and Drift. I have all of those built before this. Not on stream, obviously, but I love how there's these great big frickin' stickers that have to go on the thing. Like, that was something. These things are something that I kind of didn't like on the Optimus Prime model. Ultra Magnus obviously has the same damn thing. Now, for the small details, I can understand, but these, that's pretty egregious. It's also interesting that it could be my eyes deceiving me, but it kind of looks like the rifle in the pictures here is more purple. Whereas the parts for it are clearly gray. Not unlike most of the stuff in this box. Say that your stop motion is really well put together. Thank you. Mercury, I'm not... I always appreciate when people state their appreciation of what I do. Even though sometimes I don't feel like I appreciate what I do a lot. Yep, and the instructions, as I can tell, are about as obtuse as they were with the original Optimus Prime model. Lovely. In my fervor to get things started, I failed to grasp the fact that I have absolutely not... Okay, well, I do have some tools here. But the most important tool, my nippers, are still in my frickin' toolbox. So give me a moment. Okie dokie. Put those there. Headset. Ow! Friggin' pinch. It is advised to glue that and that together. Now, the instructions are not terribly unclear. Honestly, I think they looked... I'm probably misremembering how bad they were. But I think it was... I think I might have to just be somewhat lucky with this one, because I remember with the Megatron model kit instructions in particular, it was ostensibly very obnoxious with the way it forced so much together onto the small pages. Not that these are particularly good. Yeah, for some reason, they portray all these parts for the gun in, it looks like a vaguely purple-ish color. Very dark purple at that. Really need a new nipper and hobby knives. They are a bit dull and covered in rust. Well, I have a pair of the, God hand style nippers. The GHPN 120 one-bladed type. And I usually... Oh my god, what the heck happened here? How did that happen? I mean, it doesn't make it unusable, but how the heck did that... What? Yeah. As for hobby knives, I haven't really used those in any significant capacity ever since I got these. because these are good for nipping off things in most occasions. But fortunately or unfortunately, my brother, my younger brother, that is, had ordered some hobby knives for himself for reasons that I don't really question. But unfortunately, he forgot to send them to his own address, and they ended up with me because we share, he and I share an account on Amazon, and that just happens on occasion where he'll forget, or I'll forget, to send something to a certain address because we have so many addresses listed now. We'll start from the... Let me just put this aside. Lay this out as best I can. I'll try and go through... Let's see. We'll do everything on this page. Get stuff cut out, cleaned up, and the like. We're going to need A, D1, D2, and B1, it seems. Alright. So let's first find those particular runners. I'll put the ones that I'm not using down here beside me. Oh. Wait a minute. It's E1. There's D1. There's two D1s here. There's two B1s. That's... What is that? V2? No, that's not really. I need D2. D2 and A1. And it looks like I'm going to be taking out clear parts, which are F2. Anything else I'm missing? Nope. So these are all the runners I'm gonna need for now. We'll start off clipping off all the parts we need from A1. Then we'll move on to the B frames. Let me move the microphone back a little bit. Okay. Hello, 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 testing. Okay, that's working now. Such a delicate connection. Alright. What's the first A part? A20. Does it have an inner frame? define inner frame, because I think it has a small degree of innard parts that we're definitely going to be assembling, but it's not like one of those, you know, you can take all of the armor off and still have like a complete skeleton thing. So, if you mean that sort of thing, then obviously not. You know, I don't know why that just occurred to me, but I thought I set it to autofocus. Well, the point is, this is pre-painted. I find that a little bit interesting. Outside of Kotobukiya kits, I don't really expect pre-painted parts on the frames. Unless it's, you know, an undergated gold chromed model kit, like a Hyakushiki or something like that. Which reminds me, at some point, I've got to look into getting Hyakushiki for my collection. I have the Zero Shiki, but it's not the most up-to-date sort of model. Let's see. 18 and 19. Come on. 14. I had it. So anyway, I don't know. What am I trying to say? What am I trying to do? Who am I trying to be? Am I actually trying to be interesting and or engaging? Those are foreign concepts to me. But, yeah, I need to at least try. 22. So how is, anyone/everyone's day been thus far? Or night, or evening, whatever. Just whatever gets your fancy. I think that's all the 8 parts I need. Mine has been interesting. Not super interesting, but, you know, just something I can actually comment on besides just regular humdrums of daily life. That being, having to evict rodents. Literally. I had one of my cats decided it'd be a great time right in the middle of the day while I'm sitting there in my underpants. You know, as you do. Because why wouldn't you? You know, you're at home. You live mostly alone. I say mostly because I feel like my older brother is half a person most of the time. Maybe a third. I'd say a quarter, but I think that's kind of generous. But, no, I'm just sitting there, and I see a cat. You know, I'm just sitting in the middle of the downstairs. Well, we call it a dining room, but we don't ever actually really dine there. Hello, Ultimate Knight. So it's more of a computer / display room / main hall. I really don't know what to call it. It's like the room in the very middle of the house. But on this there, I'm just minding my own business. I see a cat trot by, looking all pleased with themselves. I wasn't really paying attention to the exact reason why. I wasn't really paying attention until after they had already passed me, and I started hearing some weird noises from the room that they went into behind me. And then I noticed they're batting at something on the floor all of a sudden. And then I put 2 and 2 together. Oh. They just caught a mouse and brought it upstairs. While I'm not wearing my pants. Now, I've dealt with enough rodent infestations in this place over the course of the many years for, you know, the presence of a mouse to typically not bother me, so long as I am wearing my pants at the time. But I wasn't. Not this time. So I make the mistake of leaving the one cat alone with their prize to run upstairs to get a pair of pants. Thankfully, there are only cockroaches in my house. My cats kill them easily. We just throw them in the trash. Yeah. Well, I haven't seen a cockroach in this house in eons, honestly. Although I think that's because something that we did to the specific way that we insulated the walls of the house that sort of deters them. I can't remember what. It's been so long. But no, we don't have cockroaches in this house. That's not to say that we don't get bugs, but cockroaches? No, I haven't seen one of those in a long time. I'll get things like those Asian what are they? Those Asian beetles that aren't ladybugs, that look like ladybugs. They're a bit of a nuisance. But yeah, I go upstairs to get my pants on. I come back down. Unfortunately, the cat that I left with their prize had been joined by a second cat. Because I've got 3 cats in this house. And unfortunately, the second cat is less of a hunter when it comes to nuisances like mice and other things. Like, the only thing that I can ever rely on this particular cat to do is to actually leap up into the air and snatch any flying rodents, specifically, bats, because bats are something that we occasionally get in this household too. Although, I think the last time we had a bat in this house was before my dad moved out. I feel like there's a correlation there. But yeah, all this cat wants to do is to play with the mice, bat it around, and, not kill it, which is what I wanted, which is what the other cat that had caught the mouse before usually does. Usually they're good about catching mice and then, just straight up murdering them. Point is, that's not what happened. By the time I got back down there, this cat was playing with the mouse, batting it around, and when I went to try and get it away from him, the mouse ran. And the ding-dong cats, being as they were, more playful than actually useful, thought it'd be a good idea to just stand around and stare at the couch instead of trying to crawl under said couch and get at the rodent that had just eluded them. So I had to move the furniture around before those wonderful little fur balls thought it was a smart idea to actually go sniffing around behind the couch. Then, finally, they managed to catch it and bring it out into the open, where I was prepared with one of their empty cat treat containers. Slap it down over the mouse, slip a little board underneath, and toss it out the door. And I thought that was going to be the end of it. I'd hoped that was going to be the end of it. Once that was dealt with, I decided, because I actually want to have a decent breakfast at some point during this coming week, to go do some grocery shopping, pick up a few things, so that I can start making some proper omelets for a change. So I go and I do that. I come home. The mouse is waiting at my goddamn doorstop for me to open the door. It's literally just sitting in front of my door as if it's waiting for me to open it. I don't even know what to think at that point. It's just like, you are a glutton for punishment, you little shit. You know, if you're not dealing with me tossing you out the door, you're going back in there to have those cats play ball with you. And if you get on the wrong side of the wrong cat, it's just going to chew a few more holes into your hide. But I swatted it aside. And hopefully that's the last I've heard of that little rodent. But I'm like, come on. I went through that whole rigmarole of moving furniture to get you out in the open so that, yeah, I could evict you. And, like the hopeless loser you are, you want back in. It's like, you don't pay rent. I'm not keeping you. You know, I don't run a house free. I don't run a... Okay, well, I suppose I do. I let my brother live here free of charge. Though he pays for all the groceries. So I suppose that's not a completely free charge. Of course, the other thing was, you know, by the time I had gotten home and had all that stuff dealt with and batted the thing aside, I neglected to note that there might be any rodents sitting in front of the door by the time social workers showed up. So when she showed up, I had to be like, sorry, miss, but before I open the door, can you make sure that there are no rodents at your feet? And that almost gave her a conniption. Hopefully, you know, assuming that little guy survived, because again, the indoor cats had beaten him up pretty badly, all things considered. But if he survived, he probably won't survive my encounter with the outdoor cat, because I've got some neighborhood cats that come by the house every now and then. And, you know, I appreciate having outdoor, well, not personal outdoor cats. You know, I know people get a little bit touchy about stray cats in the neighborhood sometimes, but, I mean, I'd rather have those around doing their job catching rodents than, you know, the rodents actually getting into the house like they do. And causing me to have to move furniture while my cats try and play a juggling act. So, I entice him to stay around. I think I should actually plant more catnip outside in the backyard. Maybe bring more of them along. Because I used to do that, you know, just that I have some catnip, natural catnip to bring inside for my house cats every now and then. But then I let overgrowth come along, and the catnip has been supplanted by a lot of lemon mint. Which I'm not adverse to. Lemon mint's pretty good stuff if you're making, like, tea out of it. But by God, it spreads like... Lemon mint spreads worse than the weeds around here. Catnip is like weed for cats. I've never used it before. What does it do? Well, I suppose it depends on... you know, how much the cat gets and their individual reaction. My cats, at this point, aren't that, don't have much of a reaction to catnip. They certainly like the stuff, and they'll go straight for it and enjoy what time I give them with it. But I think nowadays my cats get more of a reaction to Silvervine, which is like catnip for cats. Only like double strength, I suppose. So they get pretty wild if I ever give them, on the rare occasion they ever get some of that. Problem is, I don't think you can grow Silvervine around here. At least not where I live. I could be wrong. Sorry for my bad grammar. My fingers sometimes touch the wrong letters. That's alright. You know, I'm not good with the touchpad myself either. It's like I've got gigantic digits. And my phone isn't really good for it, you know, just... Oh, hi there! Alright, so let's... What was I saying? This part goes here. Face reveal! Oh no! I think I've revealed my face on here once before, although I don't know if I've deleted that video since then. I can't remember. Hello, Mad Dog Wheaton. Would like to know your favorite Gundam series? I didn't think I made it that much of a mystery to figure out what it is. But, fine, I'll repeat it, even though it should be obvious. It's the 8th MS team. Given that my main stop-motion series is pretty much modeled after it in various ways. To the point where I pretty much completely copied some of the plot points. Alright, that's A. Let's go for B now. Okay. Okay, I see. So we need to have 2 X2. Because the print is so small on this. It's just itty bitty, teeny tiny. It's kind of hard to freaking see, especially with the glare that you're getting off of the lamp up here. Which makes this entire page completely invisible unless I do this. Then you can see that there's something here. Actually, let me see if I can't fix that. Just a little bit. Very good to have his favorite team is amazing. Mine would be Zeta and Char's counterattack, followed by 83 Stardust Memory and After War X. I need to finish After War. I need to finish watching After War X at some point. I always get through the beginning of it and then, for whatever reason, give up before we get to the part where he's actually a full... where the main character is a full member of the crew. Stardust Memory... Excuse me. Stardust Memory is also pretty good. Although, one of my main gripes with it is just that there's so many characters in that series that I find so inherently unlikable. What am I doing? Easy 8 is a dope design. I agree. I still prefer the base Gundam ground type to the Easy 8. But I will say that, like, the Easy 8 is definitely one of my favorite ground Gundam variants. 11... Oh, I did need F. Oh, well, I'll get the F frame later. 11 and 13. 13. Garrett, that was his name. Yeah. I don't know why. It's just around the time... I think it's like episode 3 or 4. I don't remember. It's been such a while since I tried to watch Gundam X the last time. Like Ko is the main character and Gato is the rival character. South Burning. You know, South Burning. I think the only 3 characters that I ever really liked in that series were... oh, there might be more than that. But I did like... I like Lieutenant Burning. Keith and... the big lady. What was her name? The one that became Keith's girlfriend at the end. She was on the mechanical crew. Why do I keep forgetting her name? But yeah, I got a lot more feeling and care out of characters like 15, 16. Like Keith and well, and Burning, obviously, but I can't even. What was her name? Of all the characters that I still like, okay. Oh, I certainly like these characters, but I can never remember their names. Mora. Yeah, Mora. Death by Snooze. Yeah. And Keith is the one who ended up with him. With her. With them. Whatever. Yada yada yada. Any more B parts? Doesn't look like it. So, do that again. On the other B frame. But, you know, I like Lieutenant Burning and I like Keith just because he was sort of... I like Keith more because he was so much more grounded compared to Ko, who was always felt like his brain was kind of in the clouds at all times. And I think the list said about, you know, all the characters who would eventually go on to join the Titans, the better. Mancha was such an asshole. Oh yeah, there was Captain Synapse. I liked him. Though I will say, it feels really bad knowing that in the end, he ended up getting... Like, I don't think they ever showed it on in the series proper, but from what I heard somewhere, I can't remember, I probably just got it off like the wiki or something, but Synapse didn't end up actually living very long after that whole ordeal. Like, I think oops. Okay, I'll put glue on that. That'll be the end of it. Really don't hate Mancha that much. Yeah, he was a jerk, but the same if you read the manga, there are quite a few redeeming qualities. You see, that's just another thing that I sort of hold against 0083, the series specifically, is that the manga was just that much better. Although, given that the manga, like the Rebellion manga in particular, was made years after the fact, that's kind of one of those things where it's just like, oh, of course, you had plenty of times to think of how to rewrite this complete mistake. This completely irredeemable character, which is something else I can say about stuff like, say, Gundam Wing. Because when you take the series on its own, there are just a lot of things about the characters that don't add up. Like, even with the Endless Waltz stuff, Gundam Wing had... Wu Fei is just an awful character. I fucking hate him. But, you know, if you actually look into the manga side of things, you start to learn, oh, the way he treats women makes sense because of all the stuff that went down between... Am I hearing things? Hello? Kitty, kitty. But yeah, the way that he treats women and his sense of honor, I still think his sense of honor is still kind of ridiculous. But the way he treats women, the way he talks about how they shouldn't be the way that they are, you know, people are weak and all that stuff, it's just something that comes across as incredibly arrogant without the context of what happened before with his fiance to be Nataku. At least I think that was her name. Federation, a bunch of scumbags. Yeah. That's odd. That message didn't pop up yet. Sorry, I have basically two chat boxes in my field of vision right now. There's one that's the one that shows up in the actual stream itself on the... well, I'm pointing to it here because this is where it is on my monitor. And then there's the actual stuff here. But if you're watching the stream, you'll see over here... this right here, which looks vaguely like a cell phone where the chat box messages pop up. And there seems to be some inconsistency between what pops up here and what pops up in the actual chat that I'm looking at to the right side of my field of vision. So you'll have to excuse me if I'm a bit confused by statements and or lack thereof. Although I think the problem with it, actually, I hadn't really considered. That's peculiar. Maybe the reason it's not working is because I'm not logged in. Made a space type for the Easy 8. That would be pretty dope if they animated the space type Easy 8 throwing down. Yeah, I've seen that. Somewhere. Like, what was it? Easy 8 Kai or something like that? Yeah, for some reason, I'm not sure. There's a message that showed up in the stream box, but is completely blank as far as what's going on. Oh no, wait, that's why. I have it set to top instead of live. Duh! Okay. That's why everything is being stupid. 'Cause I'm being stupid. Anyway. What's going on here? Turn on the brain. Alright. Skim this down a bit. But yeah, I'm trying to remember. I believe the Easy 8 Kai, was that part of like one of the SD Gundam games? The what's its like specifically the oh, what am I going at? I really don't know. But honestly, just back on my point about how the writing for the mangas ends up somehow better than the series proper, and I just feel like that sort of thing reflects more about more on the poor quality of the original series itself. It's just like, oh, you couldn't have thought to make this, you know, a plot point in the series that we would know about and be able to, you know, sort of understand Wu Fei's character. No, you have to put that in a side manga that if you don't live in Japan and aren't deeply engrossed in the whole, you know, watching the series while reading the manga at the same time, of course you're not going to understand it. And I just, honestly, it's one of the things I always say to myself is just that I consistently talk, something that whenever we talk about, you know, letting a piece of media stand on its own without having to require, you know, secondary knowledge of things that happen in, like, oh, this is what happened in the book and they didn't show in the movie version or stuff like that. It's just like, if the media can't stand by itself and requires secondary reading, then you done wrong. Straight up. That's just a freaking fact. And to come back and rewrite the series in manga form to make it more comprehensible and have the characters not seem as bad, I think is, you know, almost worse. Because then it truly exemplifies the problem of, oh, well, the original just wasn't good enough. I gotta try. I feel like I've been going at this whole time, and with my exposure, I've adjusted the exposure several times, and it's still too high. also kind of generally feeling like I'm wasting my time by sanding these down. Not saying that I don't, you know, appreciate the process to have as clean a product as I can manage when all's said and done. But at the same time, it's not something that I'm super fussed about most of the time. Although when I do go back and look at things like episodes of Embers of the Lost War after the fact and see all the nub marks that I left behind, it does kind of... It actually... Yeah, I say that, but then I look at what happens in the actual episodes as I recorded them and notice all the nub marks and be like, oh, this doesn't bother me. It bothers me. It bothers me a lot. And this one's still green! I have not watched that series in ages, and yet somehow it has managed to ingrain the dialogue of every single episode into my brain. Well, I say that, honestly, I can't even remember how many episodes there were of that series. What time is it? 9:15. Wait, am I on? What? I just get so distracted. It's like, am I on? Which side? What time is it? What side am I on? I'm on my side. And no one else's. I'm on non-daylight savings time. Which, can I just say, while I would be glad to do away with daylight savings time altogether like they're planning to next year, the idea that they're going to have it on permanent DSL rather than permanent standard time is beyond mind-boggling. Like, daylight savings time has always felt like a stupid thing to me. It's just like, if you, there's that whole, oh, we want to adjust the hours of the day so that we get more daylight, you know, so that you're not, and just like, the day does not care about, you know, you. You know, the Earth rotates and turns and goes around the Earth at its own rate, inconsiderate of what people plan or want or think is right. And the whole system by which we, you know, consider time and whatnot isn't exactly perfect anyway, because we have to have these leap years and whatnot. They're just like, oh, that's a thing now, isn't it? You have to add one day every 4 years just to make it for the fact that we don't go around the Earth at a perfectly, you know, a perfect, our rotation, our orbit around the sun is not, you know, perfectly 300 at 365 days length of time. So every 4 years, we have to have a leap year that includes an extra day in February, with February itself always being the shortest month of the year anyway. It just seems so odd when I think about the distribution of dates amid all the different months of the year. It's like you can't perfect. I know you can't have like a perfect division of all the different days between 12 months or something like, I don't know. The point is, our measurement of time is always relative to some other nonsense going on in the world. You know, the way we rotate around the sun, the way the Earth rotates, the axis, the angle of the dangle, and all that, whatever it is. It just makes the idea of, you know, calculating time once we move into space. That's gonna be fun. It's like, how are we gonna calculate time once we have people living on Mars? You know, time as we know it is such a relative measure to the things that we know of, and the measures as we have taken them have revealed just how imprecise that entire the way that works is. God, I get rambly. I get real rambly when I don't have people to actually talk to. Is it any wonder my brother goes on the way he does sometimes? It's not like I ever talk back. You just sit there and listen to him go on ad nauseum about things I barely have any vague interest in. And that's my life. And that's, I guess, the life of anyone watching this stream at this point, because certainly not being that engaging. Not that there's much that I have to engage with at the moment. I'm not really keeping up with current Gundam stuff at the moment, which is a lot of the reason I've been focusing a lot on Transformer stuff, is just because I've been trying to get caught up on that since I've been so into Gundam for so long. And now that Witch of Mercury is making the rounds, and I'm not particularly invested in that, like, at all. So instead I just focus on whatever comes to mind. Yeah, like I said, that's just... I go through phases where I'm focused more on Transformers than I am Gundam, or Gundam more than I am Transformers, and I'm kind of in the more Transformers-y phase right now, even though I'm not that invested in what's going on currently in Transformers. Like, I've been sort of vaguely paying attention to the new Earthspark stuff. And I say very vaguely because, God, it's just... It feels like it's going to be... Because Transformer series have just not been really up to snuff for a long time. Like, not to downplay the different, you know, the different series for the different audiences that they have been intended for ever since Transformers Prime. But my god, Transformers Prime was so incredible. And I feel bad for not giving it as much of a chance as I did when it was on the air. But then I come back and then, you know, the 2015 Robots in Disguise came along and it's just like, way to absolutely shit the bed on absolutely everything relating to Transformers Prime from that point onward. And then Cyberverse came out, and I've heard, I don't know, like, I tried so many times to give that series the benefit of the doubt, and every time I come back to it, I just am not feeling it. It's like, Season 1 was just straight up bad. Like, about halfway through Season 1, it started to get vaguely interesting. And then we get to Season 2, and it just starts off in the midst of the action. It's just like, okay. And then I can't remember how Season 3 started, but I knew it was just like, it was slightly more interesting around that time from what I recall. And again, Season 2 wasn't not interesting. It's just, I don't know. Really, there were a lot of things I was just not at all feeling about Cyberverse. Like, no matter how many times I tried to give it the benefit of the doubt, it's just like, I don't understand. It feels, you know, oftentimes, it's hard to, I don't know. I really don't know how to explain my feelings on Cyberverse. I guess the best thing that I can say is that no matter how big the stakes seemed in Transformers Cyberverse, they didn't feel that significant, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's just like, the tone and the atmosphere didn't match the action on screen. Like, there were a number of character deaths that sort of happened, especially all at once, near, what was it, the end of Season 2 especially? All throughout Season 2. And it was just like, I'm sorry, how could it, but I don't know. I did not feel anything for most of the deaths that happened in the series. It's just usually, you know, especially for such significant characters like Shockwave or Cheetor. And I was just like, I was just very Nothing had the, it felt like nothing had the impact it was supposed to have. Like, I'm not saying that some of the character interactions in Cyberverse, that all the character interactions in Cyberverse were bad. Far from it. I thought a lot of them were nice. It's just that none of them really, nothing about any of the characters, you know, really hit it off with me, especially since none of the characters felt like they change or evolve that much throughout the series. Like, character development might as well have just not been a thing. And I don't know what else I can really say beyond that. It is just... none of the characters... I just... you know... there were some fun characters, but... since most of them lacked any kind of really distinctive development... I did not care. And of course, I'm going on about this when I'm not at all sure exactly how many people in my chat know the first thing about Transformers, let alone have any interest in any of the more recent series. Also, I don't have Netflix, so I didn't watch whatever the Netflix show was called. The War for Cybertron or something like that. I don't know. Honestly, after what happened with the Prime Wars trilogy, I wasn't really all that big on it in the first place. Also, I didn't watch any of the Prime Wars trilogy shows either. I just watched the parodies of them. I just like, I think I got all I needed from watching, you know, just parodies. Felt like the parodies made more sense than the shows themselves probably did. It occurs to me that this Ultra Magnus is not white. He is a very off-whitish gray. Which... I don't know how to feel about that. No, we're not on the D-plate stuff yet. Actually, there's a topic for conversation. You know, there's a lot of climactic moments throughout the whole of the Gundam franchise. Or, you know, particularly poignant narrative moments throughout the history of the franchise. Anyone got a particular favorite? You know, mine will always be, you know, coming from the 8th MS team fan, of course, this is going to be this one. The Battle from Shuddering Mountain Part 1 with the Easy 8 versus the Goof Custom. Just because of how, you know, real of a fight that seemed. You know, I'm going on the wrong side. This is what two giant robot mechs fighting in a city would actually be like. You know, you can actually feel the weight of all the movements. You know, how the characters struggled to get their mobile suits to function. And especially, you know, the way that, you know, they use the mobile suits against each other throughout the battle. I keep doing that. And, you know, something of an argument that came up before is just like whether I was talking to someone at some point that I can't remember. It is like, do you consider? Because ultimately, you know, he survived the battle and defeated Norris, but he failed the mission to protect the gun tanks. So, I mean, what would you call that? Like a Pyrrhic victory? Or would you even consider that a victory at all? Because again, he did. Shiro did survive and take out Norris, but Norris ultimately took out. Like, I mean, for Norris, that's definitely a Pyrrhic victory because he sacrificed his life to accomplish his task. But it's like. Do you consider that a Shiro? Do you consider that a victory for Shiro's perspective? Because ultimately he did defeat him. Well, maybe not. I mean, he killed him. Favorite anime of all times, Armored Trooper Bottoms, one that predates them as team by about a decade for how realistic the mech battles are. You know, I've watched, like, one of the later series of Votoms, you know, just a few minutes of it, and I get where everyone likes that. My only problem is I don't know, I didn't like I'm trying to remember what it is about Votoms that bothered me. I think it was mostly just the weird little the designs of the mechanoids, whatever they were called. Oh no, it wasn't that. Not the mechanoids. The suits that they had to wear whenever they were inside them. They look so goofy. Considering the fact that the Kurgan run got blown to bits by Jim Sniper, more of a Pyrrhic victory for Norris. True. It's like, through all his efforts, the ship got shot down anyway. time. A minute. No, not a minute. It's 1 hour 29, going on 1 hour 30. And 3, 2, 1. Yep. Other climactic moments. I'm trying to think. I mean, honestly, a Gundam Wing. The finale of Gundam Wing with him blowing the like Gundam Wing the series, not Endless Waltz. With him blowing the battleship Libra up as he's falling through the atmosphere. I mean, I have a lot of problems with Gundam Wing as a series, as I may or may not have mentioned earlier. It was my first Gundam series. But you know, I'm not giving it, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and be all like, it's my first Gundam series, it's so good, it's the best. No, I'm gonna be critical. I'm not gonna put on my rose-tinted goggles and look back on things like Gundam Wing and be like, oh, it's just the best Gundam series because this is the first one I ever watched. No. I really don't like Gundam Wing as much anymore. But I do think about like his the whole and when I say that, now that I think about it, the whole build up to the Libra and Peace Million being dropped on Earth, and then the ultimate, they finally blow it out of the sky as it's entering the atmosphere thing. I mean, it's not a bad, you know, that part of the series isn't, you know, something I have so much issue with. Although, considering the number of Gundam series prior to Gundam Wing that did have absolutely no trouble, and especially after War Gundam X dropping colonies on Earth. You know, it just seems kind of, you know, when you reflect upon it that way, it's just like all the effort that they go into to completely avoid that seems just like, yeah. I mean, ultimately, yeah, it's a good thing. We do not want colonies dropping on Earth, causing all sorts of mass destruction across the globe. But, it seems, I don't know, it just seems like it's such a pansy-ass thing that throughout the whole of Gundam Wing, that they just never go through with it. It's also just kind of stupid in general when I think about how the Wing Zero's Buster Rifle has always been this be-all, end-all weapon of dealing the final blow that blows up things. Like, it's a freaking beam cannon, I get that. A double beam rifle. A beam buster cannon thing. Super powered ultra laser, whatever you want to call it. And so it's supposed to be powerful, but it's just like, it's still a straightforward projectile weapon of a sort. No, I don't. And by the time that they had managed to do all the damage that they had done to that segment of the big battleship, they're just like, okay, we managed to turn on Peace Million's engines and send Libra back out into space. Oh, but one piece of Libra could still fall on Earth and cause a nuclear winter. But then they go in and Zex destroys the reactor at the center, blowing away a big chunk of it. Oh, but that's still not enough. It still starts descending upon the Earth. And I'm just like, okay, at that point, what are you doing? What do you do? The power core is gone. It blew to smithereens. There shouldn't be much left destructible on that piece of the station. What else are you gonna blow up? I mean, yeah, ultimately, which is also just another problem that I have, at least with the way they animated it, the destruction of space colonies in Gundam Wing, and just like using the Buster Rifle. It's just like, oh, the Buster Rifle is incredibly powerful to the point where it can take out this entire satellite. It's just like, okay, I can imagine, I get the idea that the Buster Rifle is powerful enough to penetrate the whole thing. But then it just explodes. Like, you know, turns into so much vapor and just kaboom, 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 kaboom. And it's just like, what did you do? Did you hit the Death? Do all these installations have a Death Star reactor in them that once you pierce the, you just, oh, that's it. The whole thing comes undone. It's just like boom, 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 boom. It's like, I can get the idea of, you know, the power, the beam's power being enough to cause the station to start collapsing or something. Or like puncturing the station, and puncturing the station or colony would cause internal collapse. But again, the way they animate it, it makes it look like whenever Hero hits something, Hero or whoever it was that uses the Buster Rifle with the Wing Zero, hits something with it, that it becomes, oh, now it is just, the whole thing has turned into explodium. And is exploding. With explodium. Sorry, I need to check on something. Like kaboom, 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 kaboom. The whole thing comes undone because reasons. So are the walls of the colony just lined with nitroglycerin or something? I think it's just me getting distracted during this whole ordeal because I'm talking. But it feels like I'm taking a longer time to get this done than I would otherwise. Like, when Wu Fei's home colony got destroyed, I could kind of get behind that. It's just like, oh, they probably lined all of the stuff, lined the whole colony with a form of explosive because, you know, they were like that and, you know, they planned for it. But do all colonies do that? I kind of doubt that. And if in that case, it's just like, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. It's just like if you puncture, you know, the main power reaction or something. I don't know. It's just like, why do colonies go kaboom? Like, I can imagine them imploding, you know, and, you know, the resource satellites that were destroyed in Gundam Wing, you know, maybe collapsing after they're hit by a beam of that magnitude. But for the whole thing to erupt in a gigantic fireball seems absolutely ridiculous. That's just my 2 cents on it, though. I mean, I suppose the battleship Libra could have been filled with all sorts of explosive munitions, and that's why when he decided to take out that one chunk of it, it went kablooey. Or I would think that if I knew that the whole thing wasn't a big nothing but a crap ton of beam cannons, so, and even the mobile suits and mobile dolls that they had on the station were all only ever armed with beam cannons. If I recall correctly, the battleship Libra didn't have any sort of missiles of any kind as far as defensive weapons go. And of course, its main weapon, the Libra cannon, that's just another giant beam cannon. And if you destroy like all the reactors on board the station, like the main power sources, and that somehow doesn't cause the entire station to come apart, sorry, I keep leaning back and doing this off screen. I don't know how much it matters, honestly. And of course, you know, I'm overly focusing on the whole idea of a space station that just explodes the moment that you puncture it with a beam cannon. Instead of, you know, like falling apart or collapsing. You know, that's one thing I appreciate about Gundam Seed, is that the destruction of colonies in that series, you know, it wasn't like this big kaboom. Like, they were very significant in their destructive capability, yes, but it's just like the colony, you know, collapsed. Well, sort of. I mean, if you want to count the whole incident with Junius 7, you know, that went kaboom. But then that was hit by a nuclear explosive. So, there was a good reason for that. And even then, there were still, Junius 7, you know, the way that it was destroyed, there was, like, the whole, livable sector. You know, that was still left after the destruction of most of the colony. Like, what would you call that? Like the ground? The bottom part? I don't know. Gundam Seed Space Colonies. The plants are weird design. Maybe not a wholly unrealistically achievable sort of spacey science space colony thingy design. But by God, it's just like the plants are not a practical, livable design. That's just a fact. Like there's nothing practical about the way the plants are designed. So that just sort of begs the question: who designed the plants? Like, who came up with that whole hourglass-shaped space colony thing? Again, I'm not saying that it probably can't work. But, you know, as far as, you know, the living space of the colony itself, it just seems like a very stupid way to design a colony. Not that I necessarily find, like, the Taurus ring style of colony to be all that much better. I mean, I can get why they use it as, like, a starter colony for the beginning of the Universal Century when they were doing Gundam Unicorn. But overall, it's just like the Island 3... open cylinder and or even closed cylinder type. Although the open cylinder probably more than the closed cylinder. Just from my mind, you know, of course, what am I saying? I don't know anything about space habitation. But it's just like the Island 3 cylinder type colonies always seem to be the most practical from most respects, and I feel like that's probably the reason why we see a lot of Island 3 type colonies throughout the Gundam multiverse. I think there's only been like 1 or 2 banal sphere type colonies throughout the whole of Gundam. Like, I'm trying to remember, because I haven't actually fully watched Double Zeta Gundam, because, that is difficult to try and swallow. Like, goddamn. Trying to watch Double Zeta Gundam, you know, a lot of people say it's just like, it starts off pretty bad, but you know, once you get into it and then you get to like episode XDX, it gets pretty good. And I'm just like, who the fuck has time and patience enough to get through that many episodes before it gets good, quote unquote, to sit down and fully enjoy the series? It's just like, no. And that's why I haven't bothered with Double Zeta. just like, fuck you, I don't have the time for that. But I do recall, like, there's a colony that they find in that series that is a banal sphere. If I recall correctly. The only other of those type of colonies that I can remember being in anything Gundam related is in Gundam 00. I think. Again, that particular colony type is something that's so rare in Gundam that anytime that it does pop up, I can barely remember it. That's how rare and odd it is. Like, it doesn't even seem that special, is the thing. Usually. Typically. Like, whenever it shows up, it's just like... You make note of its weirdness, but not anything special about it. Know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm just... This is me rambling as I run out of time. Because, unfortunately, it seems it is almost... Is it 10 o'clock? Well, it's almost 10 o'clock, which is the point. And that means I'm going to have to end this stream, because it means it's pretty close to 2 hours, which is about my upper limit for streaming, for one. For two, it means I have to go and feed the cats anyway, so... I hate to just leave this as is. Yep, there it goes. That's my cat alarm, which means I gotta go feed them, and unfortunately I'm just gonna have to end this stream here. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end the stream here. I'm gonna put these parts together, and then we'll pick up on the next page in another stream or something like that. I don't know. But in the meantime, thank you absolutely everyone for watching. As always, there will be links in the description of my various social media outlets, as well as my coffee page if you want to follow up on that. Devasia Mentality out. Bye-bye. Bye. Thanks for being here. See you around. Have to pee anyway.